Hey there, welcome to the Xavier Schwindt YouTube channel. So this is a video essay about kind of the trap that modern society is struggling with. We're in this world where constant is constantly pummeling us, and we're struggling to understand our own ideas and cognition because what is content, what is media? It's a piece of the creator's psyche and their ideologies, ideas, ideals, and true beliefs, which are lived out in their actions or media productions. And so really this video essay is going to seek to answer the problem of how do we survive in this new, not vulgar, but very violent media landscape. So without further ado, I'm just gonna hit the play button on my scripter, which rolls the text across the screen, and I'm gonna start reading. Hopefully, I'm gonna add some stuff. I might pause eventually, put in some first-person narration, and let's do it. Okay. The essay's title is "To Create in Order to Survive." The conventional mind is passive. It consumes information and regurgitates it in familiar forms. The dimensional mind is active, transforming everything it digests into something new and original, creating instead of consuming. Robert Greene. With everything that we consume, we must also consider that in some way it will have to exit our systems, whether intentionally, consciously, or otherwise. That is the problem with copious amounts of gluttonous ideas, without the exertion of one's own ideas. Since the fall and the casting down of humanity of many cosmologies, we've been creating things. Humans struggle to survive. We crafted weapons, tools, things that would better our situation. So does today, but the landscape has changed drastically. Instead of migrating from place to place in order to create and to consume in the physical world, we migrate from blog, social media, YouTube, all to bloat ourselves with the sheer quantity of media and tools which is available in this modern world. In 2022, Earth hit the stunning milestone population marker of 8 billion. As our population rises and this world is filled with more and more eager mouths, figuratively that is, they search out sources of content and media in this new landscape, no longer needing to forge or create and migrate for their survival or benefit. But this becomes even more constant from demographic to demographic. More and more people are falling into the trap of eternal consumption, regurgitating information and sometimes ideas to get by, as in school or work, which is often considered nowadays to be a less enjoyable form of content creation within the modern age, where we find ourselves settling with jobs that are becoming less and less engaging and enjoyable to the laborer. The trap of eternal consumption is a snare of other people's work. This is not necessarily a bad thing. Consumption is a necessary process of life as well as creation. As a writer, one of my greatest tools is reading. I would tactically choose books which I can read that will I'll explain this a little bit more. As a writer, I actually have a video on this. The Write Like Legends. You should check that out. But it's we take in media intentionally. We mitigate what our intake is, and so what sort of fumes we'll be giving off. So in this case, for me, I try to read the types of prose and ideas that I want to exhibit into my own work. So really, it's a lot like dieting. I mean, everyone's got a diet; it's just the food you eat. But if you're on cardio, you're going for a certain. Sorry for my sniffles. I'm a little bit congested, so ignore that. But you're trying to predict a certain outcome. It's like in coding, you have to put the input in is almost more important than the output. So it's very important what we regulate. So for us writers, more than a lot of people, but still, it's quite important. So I'll keep going. Again, pardon my sniffles. Should probably blow my nose. But sometimes if a book is particularly engaging, or I'm simply procrastinating on my writing, my reading might overwhelm my time and life as well as ideas. If I read something that is not truly good work of fiction or nonfiction, it might even infect my work by osmosis of ideas and style. We face a modern danger where we are tempted to let ourselves be engulfed by this ocean of internal, no-cost-to-access content. We slowly lose the true experience of ideas and understanding, which we often grasp when we have to convey it or weave its message into our content and the creation of internal cognitive process. We give up the potential of hands-on learning, even passing up important high-value skills, instead watching and hearing about other people do the things that we want to do, or creating the things that we might create in other circumstances. As I said earlier, it is not a bad thing. Consumption is great, and we all have to do it in some way or another. But when it gets to the point that you're using consumption exclusively to entertain, that is where it gets dangerous. What is meant by the word dangerous is when dopamine is no longer truly val- valuable to your life, because you've conditioned yourself to expect it and gain it from easy, free sources. Again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but gluttony is certainly a danger. When we use other people's content, entertaining ourselves exclusively easily, rather than training ourselves in the ancient art, seemingly lost, of self-engagement, which we can easily fulfill by internal content creation, or the skill of creating content which entertains ourselves, and even possibly others, which can lead to a massive growth and gain as a platform. When we grow a garden, let's say, let's do the most common house garden plant, tomatoes. Come harvest time, the fruit is taken off the vine by hand, usually the gardeners, and quickly used. That fruit, while maybe of less quality than a tomato from a supermarket, will be more delicious to the individual gardener than other tomatoes. They worked hard, and to that end, they put time into it and assigned it value with that time. So in the end, the gardener was able to take satisfaction in the work of their time, hands, and tender care. So it is with content. Art or content, that in this case takes a small piece of its creator, even in nonfiction. As a fiction writer, I face the challenge of infusing my characters with personality and multiple facets of existence. To do this, I have to infuse them with parts of myself. Like Horcruxes, they take on sections of my identity, my ideas, my ideals, and my soul, figuratively. In this same way, my content is a piece of its creator's psyche and their psychology. And that right there is part of the problem. If a person's ideas are a part of them, then that means that consumers are essentially peering into other people's beings. What can happen if we consume too much of other people's ideas and not examine ourselves? When we create, we come to a deeper understanding of ourselves, our true motives, and our true beliefs and goals. Imagine that we have a certain amount of personality slots within our being. Every time we're consuming something, we're taking someone else's ideas or something that we might already believe, but we're reinforcing it with other people's understanding. And but if we do it copiously, we're going to fill in all those slots. Let's say I have 10 slots, constantly consuming. I might fill all those up, and it's going to completely change what my external being is. Um, as I said, again, with coding, I have a little sticky note in the bathroom over there by my mirror. When I brush my teeth, I'll look at it, along with some great verses. It says, as in coding our lives, the input is more important than the output oftentimes. So, I can't remember the exact quote. Good artists, it ends with great artists steal concepts and ideas and use them in new creative ways. So like that Robert Greene quote at the beginning of this essay, you go back to that if you want. We must take in things and create originality with them in unique, mitigated, we're intentionally using them, ways to export creative pieces or simply change our lives. Oh, sorry, I kind of explain that without the script. And consuming copious amounts of other people's psyche, their ideas, through their content, we slowly lose our own originality and beings as our personality slots are filled up and not necessarily with good sources of self. If you know the enemy, you know yourself. You need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. It all comes down to how a consumer is cautious and conscious of how they are intaking content, as well as excreting it in their lives and creation. We must, as Sun Tzu said, know our enemies, in this case, the media we consciously consume, in order to win the battles of keeping our consciousnesses and ideals self influenced and mitigated in order to also create the types of media that we want. But sometimes best, but sometimes the best way to stay afloat in the modern world of media is to craft yourself a life raft of art and media. Um, by creating your own stuff, you're coming to a better understanding of what your beliefs truly mean to you, and how valuable they are in certain areas of life through how much value you put into them and time, effort, and the things we truly believe we will live out. That's from one of my fiction books. Also, I'm sure some random people say that online. So, you know, um, uh, as a poison passes through a person's body during a detox, they slowly replace the old hazard with a new understanding of what it is to create. And to stay afloat, in my eyes, is to create, to keep my head above the waves of this turbulent sea. So there you have it. That's kind of my philosophy on creating in order to survive. And I think it's a lesson that more people need to learn. For me, writing is the best form of therapy. Um, And so I really think more people need to find a passion project. For me, it's writing fiction, telling stories with deep meanings, I think. Um, but I really don't see how other people don't have those things. So I think that's a really important thing that people need to learn and need to grow in, is finding something that they're very passionate about as a creation, as a creator, and putting their ideas and psyche into that for others to consume and to better understand themselves. Um, yeah, there you have it. So, without further ado, I need to get back to school. So, blessings.